Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is Friday. It is the end of another week and time for Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Nobody joining me on the program today because, well, what the hell? Everybody stayed up watching the draft that didn't happen. What can I tell you? I'm trying to do this program on a device called an Elgato Wave XLR. Please, in the chat room, let me know if I sound okay or if there is something that is not right about the audio. I would greatly appreciate it. Not that there's a ton of stuff to talk about today, but there's always stuff going on. And it's an overcast day here in Ohio. My goodness. I'm trying to open up my swimming pool here, and the weather is saying no. And that's that. And the draft went down, and some teams like Houston are happy and other teams are not. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk a little bit about the Browns, a little bit about the Guardians, and all kinds of good stuff. So just, we'll get about 40, 45 minutes out of this before I have to get back to my house chores. Let's start with the Cavaliers, shall we? There was no move they could make. They were man in a Rick. That doesn't tell me anything. Is the sound as good as it usually is? Is it better or is it worse? That's what I'm trying to get at. Goodness gracious, such a joker he is. Cavaliers were the men in straitjackets. There was nowhere to move to the left or to the right. They just had no move. And that's what they did. No move. They just took the 49 pick and proceeded to pick a guy who we know all about it. A guy who had a name when he was 15, and he was the next Kevin Durant when he was 15. And then life changed. Imani Bates is the number 49 pick. And no, something I no moves and no hooves either. They did nothing, a whole lot of nothing. He played, he was supposed to play at Memphis, all right, but he decommitted because his first season there, he averaged all of 9.2 points a game. This from the guy who was being told he was the next Kevin Durant, was actually referred to as Kevin Durant Jr., if you can believe that. I can't help but think of Frankenstein. I don't mean the creation, but I mean the theme. Guy says, I might have the ability to reanimate dead flesh into life. If you don't see the possibility of that going awry, then there is a real problem that you have. It's kind of like this immersible thing that went down looking for the Titanic. You had to know that there was like 5 people death danger involved in that. And you have to know that in Frankenstein, once you get the dead body to, animated so it's living, that could be a real motherfucker. I mean, it's like, holy shit, look at him. He's bigger than I am. Damn. And we are the makers of our own demise, and that is what happened to Imani Bates. He made the mistake of listening to these assholes and believing it. And once they start believing they're the next dot dot dot, I could tell you how many musicians were called the next Bob Dylan and they all fell on their face. That's like the kiss of death. You say Kevin Durant Jr. when a guy's 15, what is he going to do? He's got now an image he's got to live up to. And there's no way. These players just don't come off the tree like apples. It doesn't work that way. So he gets to Memphis, and the harsh, cold revelation that there are lots of other basketball players who were recruited across the country. He's just one of them. And you're right, Rick. I mean, he is not ready physically, but he's a scorer. He's not going to be banging very much down low. This guy is a scorer. The problem, however, with being a scorer in the NBA is, are you an efficient scorer or are you a volume shooter? Imani Bates, unfortunately, when he decommitted from Memphis, went to Eastern Michigan. And that's no slam on Eastern Michigan. It's a Mid-American Conference school, but he should have wiped the floor up with MAC competition. And it didn't happen. Instead, he had a field goal percentage of 40%, a three-point percentage of 33%. He averaged 19.2 points per game. He had 3 or 4 games where he topped 30 points, one where he topped 40. But there were other games against Kent State and against other defensive-minded teams where he couldn't get off the schneid. So now he's just a guy who's lucky to have been drafted 49. Most everyone who had him on a board had him in the second round, mid-second round, and basically, so he dropped a little from there. But there's reasons for that. He got busted. He had a gun in a car. I know, he's Ja Morant, but without the proof that he can play in the league. And it's poison. What they do to these players is poison. We watched it happen to Kyrie Irving. His father's a crazy motherfucker. He is. I mean, and when Kyrie had the success that he had early on with the Cavaliers, it went right to his head. And he's cuckoo because he thinks he can get away with anything because of who he is. And that's right, Rick. Third team Mid-American Conference. The guy should have been first team to even live up to anything. He shouldn't be having that much trouble in the Mid-American Conference. Now, with that said, if I'm going to make an excuse for the guy, it's that college basketball that's being played at the tortoise pace that the Mid-American Conference plays at is not going to be the brand of basketball that he is going to excel at. But there are a lot of mixed emotions about this player amongst people who were following his story. I mean, what they're saying around the country, for example. I mean, and I'm not saying that any of these people are right or wrong, but this is what they're saying. Danny Cunningham from ESPN. Not sure there was a more talented guy left on the board for the Cavs to get at 49. Whether or not he pans out in the NBA is one thing, but the talent and the ability to score the basketball is undeniable. The stuff of which Europe is made, or Japan, or the Philippines. Basketball analyst Jeff Goodman said, Imani Bates, the former Sports Illustrated cover boy at 15. And see, this is going to come back to haunt this guy for the rest of his life, is selected by Cleveland with the 49th overall pick. I mean, they identify him as, the guy who we believed was something when he was 15, who really isn't much now, got selected 49th. I forget the guy's name. I saw his documentary. He was the guy who was the number one player in the country when LeBron James was like 16, 17 years old. And he was the guy who was going to go pro. He was the guy who would just be able to do anything he wanted to do. And like overnight, LeBron James just showed up on the scene, and they went to a basketball camp together and participated, and they were the two big names. And somebody see if you can look this up online because I forget the guy's name, and I feel bad because that makes me like everybody else. And I didn't even know about the guy, to tell you the truth, until I saw the documentary. But I mean, it's he gets out there and they're in this camp, and it's the most prestigious camp there is in the country. And it gets down to the last days, and they're setting up a final where LeBron will be one on one with this guy. And the game comes down to the end. Bates. Who is Bates? Is that the guy? Has my sound gone out? What has happened? Yep, sure enough. This damn thing has gone out. Hold on. I'm not done with this. How about now? Yes or no? Oh, this is terrible. I guess still nobody hears me. No sound. All right, hold on. I'm not done yet, by golly. I am not done yet. Hold on. Oh my. Anything now? Yeah. I guess we're not going to have a show today. This is really annoying to me. Uh, I just have to check one last thing. Uh, uh, it is. Are we back? Okay, good. I'm doing live plugging and unplugging things, and I've had nothing but grief with this device. Honest to God. And I wish it would just stop. All right. I'm hoping that we're good to go. All right. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. But unfortunately, I lost track. Oh, but yeah, Frankenstein, basically, we're the makers of our own despair. And when you let sports writers dictate just how good or how bad you are, then you're trouble. You're in big trouble. And a 15-year-old kid, you can't expect any more. Can't expect any more. And he became somebody who felt that he was honestly special. And that's when you're done. I still can't remember the name of the player. At any rate, with the LeBron James story, but it's like waking up and you go from the number one guy to not being the number one guy anymore. Then you're broken, completely broken. Here's what some other people said. Basketball insider Adam Zagoria wrote, Imani Bates gets a shot with the Cavs and a chance to reinvent himself. Will be fascinating to see what happens to a player once compared to Kevin Durant. You see, you got to follow him forever. Fox 8 News, John Sabal reported. Imani Bates was once a top 3 high school prospect in the country, hasn't lived up to the expectations. The kid has raw talent, definitely seems like a project, but no such thing as a risk or gamble taking someone in the middle of the second round like that. This is everybody believes that he will probably fail like all other number 49 picks. But what the hell? Take somebody who at one time had the talent. Other people, all jokes aside, Imani Bates has been through a lot over the last 5 years, expectations that were placed on him outside of his control. I'm happy he finally gets his dream of making it to the NBA. Another comment. Watched a lot of Imani Bates this year as a fan of Mac, of the Mac. Creation and shooting are NBA caliber. However, his shot selection has to improve. Uh, that's really what it is. He is a volume shooter right now who doesn't select good shots. Hey, Bobby, how you doing? I'm having all kinds of trouble here, Bobby. I'm trying to use this damn Wave XLR device from Elgato, and the thing just sucks, man. It sucks donkey dick. I got this great mic just for you, the SMB7, man. I mean, uh, so the next time you run a contest, babe, I'm going to be singing into this. So I've decided, hey, I'm going to try a different little preamp thing. Elgato is Elgato. What it is plastic. It reminds me of something like a Fisher Price toy. How does this sound? Now, Bobby will tell me honestly. Bobby, how is the sound of this program? What do I need to do? What tweaks do I need to do to get this thing to sound a little bit better? Because this is all new to me. The microphone is dynamic. I'm used to using a condenser. So, okay, good. So you can't go wrong with the Shure, but you can't go wrong with the Neumann. In fact, I don't deserve a Neumann. Uh, we're having technical talk here. All right, good. I'm glad that at least it sounds okay. Yeah. Bobby's a good fella. He's part of the Sing Snap nation of karaoke singers, but this guy is not a karaoke singer. He's a professional singer, and he is really good. I'm not kidding. You hear karaoke singer, and it's like no, yeah. But this guy, he's saying jingles, professional singer, and he's got the microphone and the setup. I still want to see that studio. You got to somehow take a video of your studio so I can see at least what software and what hardware you're using, because it's amazing. And and this is from a guy who ran radio stations and owned radio stations, and we use processing that was analog and then digital. And your stuff sounds fantastic. I'd love to see it. All right. And you missed the part of the show where the Wave XLR cut out and I had no audio for about 7 minutes. Why couldn't it have gotten me in the middle of a song? Why my bread and butter? I don't know. But Amani Bates is going to be what Amani Bates is going to be, a guy who's the 49th pick in the draft, who's just trying to become a G League player. And he's got to, he's going to be the two-way guy, and they need a scorer. I mean, he's 6'9". He fits the bill as far as being an athletic scoring forward. The problem is some people will say, how athletic is he? And I don't know. Yeah. That's right, Bobby. He was going to be at MSU. That's right. And he ended up in Eastern Michigan. Where is Eastern Michigan located at? Is that in, why am I forgetting what city Eastern Michigan was in? Yeah. He'll tell me. Oh, Ann Arbor. No, I'm kidding. Anybody? That's a Michigan State joke. Ypsilanti. Thank you. I appreciate it. So then there are other people, like the people at Bleacher Report, who are reporting that an NBA scout said Imani Bates not even on our board. Quote, just too much of a circus. Yeah, this is a full quote. He's not even on our board, just too much of a circus. He has a scorer's mentality, but bad shot selection. He's one of those athletic looking guys that's not really athletic. He has no interest in playing defense or utilizing his other abilities. We need to learn how to play. He needs to learn how to play with other good players. Very talented skill-wise. He was good at the combine, but his body needs a lot of work. Sounds like Evan Mobley. I've heard he's done a pretty good job during his workouts. That's it. That's the deal. 19.2 points, 5.8 rebounds per game. He wouldn't be coming to Cleveland to rebound. He would be there to jack up open shots. Yep. I wouldn't be able to handle it. If somebody said something about me and published it, front page, dead center, saying I'm Kevin Durant Jr., that would screw my head up. And I think most 15-year-olds would feel the same way. So Cavaliers fans, it could be a lot worse. You could be the Oakland Athletics. The Athletics. Do you know how bad you have to be to lose game after game after game to the Guardians this year? It's unbelievable. We'll shift over to Cleveland Browns talk because it's got to be more interesting than the draft that wasn't. And I don't really want to talk about who had the best draft except the Houston Rockets did. But besides that, I want to talk about it. The Browns are trying to adjust to Schwartz's defensive scheme, And of course, this is the time of year where you got to be very, very careful Players are going to say all the right things and how much, oh, we love this new defensive scheme because they're trying to they're trying to get a job. They're trying to make money. They're trying to stick on the roster. The difference between Schwartz's defensive scheme and Wood's defensive scheme in the last couple of years is that it's very, very straightforward. I mean, there isn't all of this language involved. Nobody ever understood what they were supposed to be doing under Joe Wood's system. Nobody understood. But with Schwartz, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you get, a stick about this long and about this wide around shoved up your ass. The bottom line is it's very straightforward. For example, the defensive line attacks whoever has the football. Sounds like it makes sense. The linebackers are cleanup people if the ball carrier reaches the second level. And we haven't had really quality linebackers in Cleveland for God knows how long. And if I have to say Clay Matthews one more time, I'm going to hang myself. So the secondary will keep things in a system that prefers to use man coverage as opposed to zone. That's good news too, because I'm sick and tired. Take care, Bobby. Thanks for stopping by. The thing that really bothered me about the Joe Wood scheme as a viewer of the game, sitting and casually watching in the comfort of my home, it always looked like a certain player fucked up when really it could have been somebody else, because all of the crazy zone coverages, all it served to do was confuse the hell out of the defense. And somebody was never where they were supposed to be. That's the deal. In a man coverage, you know who gets beat, and you know if he gets beaten like a drum. But in a zone, all it takes is one guy who's supposed to move toward the middle of the field, who moves to the outside of the field, and the play blows up, and you got a touchdown. And we saw that way, way too many times. Really, way too many times. Basically, it's a different type of attack defense. That's what Dalvin Tomlinson, our new guy, said during minicamp. It's as aggressive as you can be, and as a defensive lineman, to be able to use all your power and explosiveness is like a dream come true. Remember, this is all new people who haven't been around, so, we know that Zadarius Smith, who's supposed to be a pass rusher, was lined up in the interior line. That happened. And the answer is no. He's still, John Johnson is still a free agent. And the other guy, Greedy Williams is, I believe, still a free agent. And who was the other one? Nobody's picking up these guys. They're terrible. But Zadarius was lined up in the interior. Denzel Ward was playing in the slot. And three safeties were deployed in nickel situations. I mean, very different. There's going to be a lot of unique looks, but the players will have a better idea of what it is they're supposed to do. Now, here's another question that I had, because Greedy is with the Jets. That's where he belongs. Hopefully he won't have to hit anybody. My shoulder. All right. Guy wasn't meant to play professional football. He should get on with his next career. You remember who Jakeem Grant was, and running back John Kelly. But you haven't heard anything about these two players at all. In fact, what you're hearing about is that Ford from the University of Cincinnati, last year's pick, has moved up to the number 2 running back position. And that you're not hearing about John Kelly at all. And Jakeem Grant, because of all the wide receivers who have been chosen, isn't being spoken about. And nobody's really talking about Jakeem Grant even in the return game because, well, it's non-contact, and who knows. And what does Kevin Stefanski have to say? about Jakeem Grant because he's coming off that injury. He's coming along. He works really hard. Still working hard in the meeting room. Even though he's not taking reps out there, he's still a major part of it. And Jakeem is a pro. I love having him around for as long as he's going to be around, right, Kevin? And as for Kelly, he is looking at backup duties behind Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford. All right. And he's going to compete with Hassan Hall, who's undrafted, Nate McCrary, who's undrafted, and Demetric Felton for a possible roster spot. Demetric Felton could be an odd man out here because I don't get how he fits in. You know, I don't really get how Demetric Felton fits in because he made the team as well. He's going to return kicks, punts, and kickoffs. He's going to be in the backfield. We're going to line him out wide too sometimes, utilizing motion. But we don't need to do that with the wide receivers we have anymore. And we don't have the kind of running game that's meant for Demetric Felton. And Demetric Felton's value is in catching the ball out of the backfield. And Ford is a much bigger guy who can get yards after catch. I don't see Demetric Felton even making this team. I just don't see it. There's not much more the Browns are going to do with their roster right now. I mean, right now it's you get all the bodies and then you start analyzing who's where. And add more bodies now just doesn't make any damn bit of sense. So that's a little bit of Brown stuff. And the question being asked as we get closer and closer for training camp, what are the most exciting stories that are going to develop? Well, of course, Deshaun Watson, who's going to take shit if he doesn't look good, that's going to be really a difficult situation. And I'm not even going to guess what we're going to see from Deshaun Watson because it's the way the NFL is set up right now. The preseason is truncated, SAT word. And there's one game in which the starter will have, numerous snaps, and then the backups will be playing. So when you come out week one, you're really not ready. And if he comes out week one and he doesn't look particularly good, then the world's going to come crashing down around the Cleveland Browns organization. So I don't even want to talk about Deshaun Watson and how he looked in mini camp. It doesn't matter to me. And that's not the most stimulating story. The best story is who's going to get hurt. Once the contact begins, who's going to tear out an ACL? It happens every single goddamn year, and it's going to happen again. Who's the unlucky person or people? People asking questions about who's going to lead the team in sacks this year and how many. How many are the Browns going to get and who are going to be the top three? Everyone's going to say Myles Garrett, of course, and Zadarius Smith. Yes, he'll get, but how many? Smith only got 10 sacks, and, it kind of slowed down as the year progressed. And Dalvin Tomlinson is a veteran guy, and I'm glad he's on the team, but how his body will hold up, you just don't know. I don't see guys like Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas. I mean, maybe if they're going up against tired linemen, they can get around the edge, get in the backfield. I wouldn't count on it. The one thing I keep telling people, because everybody is so fixated on the whole notion of sacking, that is not what Schwartz's defense is famous for. That's not how it's worked. In fact, the last 2 times that he lost his job with teams, they had more sacks the following year after he left. He's more of a balanced guy. He's an attack-oriented guy. If he has good pass rushers, you know, it isn't all in the sack numbers. Right now, they train quarterbacks to have a mental clock. That's what it is. You get rid of the ball, you throw it away. Sack numbers are going to be diminished because the way it's set up is if your primary guy is not open and you get a peek at your secondary guy and he's not open, you throw it out of bounds. And nobody will really get hammered. So the whole idea is a pressure oriented defense, but it's going to try to force teams into third and longs. If we improve, it's got to improve on the run defense side and penetration in the defensive side, because we did not see it last year. It was terrible. You never saw us get tackles in the backfield. It never happened. The pressure that you put on, what's going to assist, the numbers of sacks ain't going to go up dramatically, but turnovers and interceptions, yes. Strips, possible, but interceptions are a necessity. We have been one of the worst teams as far as getting turnovers through interceptions in the league. And if we can put pressure, and even if it's peripheral and the quarterback sees somebody coming at him and they don't get there, but they hurry their throw, or it forces them to throw into a zone, or, you know, where they shouldn't have put the football, deflections and things of that nature, interceptions mean field position. And what we've had on special teams give us no field position. And we've had way too many 3 and outs, way too many, two first downs and out. We weren't working with short fields at all. That's where Schwartz's defense, if it's going to pay off, is going to pay off. We'll see. As far as safeties, I don't mean like 2 points. I mean the safety position. There's a big turnover on this roster in that position. We were just talking about John Johnson. And then we got Juan Thornhill from Kansas City. Ronnie Harrison also remains a free agent, by the way. Does that surprise you? Bad attitude, Harrison. Mr. Penalty when you least needed it. But the Browns brought in Rodney McLeod, who spent 6 seasons in Philadelphia, but most importantly, worked with Jim Schwartz in that defense. And he's going to be a communicator to explain this defense to other players. I think this is going to be a real fight for your job kind of situation among safeties. In 2022, Johnson had the job, and that ended up hurting us. Delpit had the job because he was coming off a terrific rookie season. But the thing is, right now, we're mixing and matching. In OTAs and minicamp, we haven't said this guy's a strong safety and this guy was a free safety. They're moving around because they're assessing what they have. To point, Thornhill has actually played in the box in nickel packages, and Delpit has actually played the deep safety spot. Both players are moving around the field and doing the same thing. The backups are doing the same thing. Everybody's getting a taste of what they need to learn in this defensive scheme. Who's going to end up being the top guys? Who knows? I think everybody knows that the more you can do, the more valuable you are. This is a quote, all right, by the new safeties coach, Ephraim Banda for the Browns. Yes, they have a new safeties coach, and that is a good thing. By design, they may not know this, but what Coach Schwartz wanted to do was to create a lot of reps at different spots in case later on in the season, when you get injuries, you start having situations, we're not going to be so strapped with guys. This guy could only play strong safety, or this guy could only play free safety. We want people who do more. So there's that. Thornhill and Delpit are projected as starters right now. McLeod will play a vital role in this because he knows the defense, and if not on the field all the time, on the sidelines and in the locker room. Now, whether Grant Delpit will actually have a big season or not, we'll see. He's got to figure out ways of getting his hands on the ball and using his skill not just to get into the backfield, but in the open field and coverage. He has to prove that he has balance in his run stop and his pass stopping abilities. You know, by missing his first year with the Achilles injury, we know that the first year back's tough. The second year, if it's going to be, that's when you get better. So that's going to be very interesting, to say the least. Pass coverage, interceptions, turnovers, ball hawking. It's what we need. And now, before the end of the program, I will talk a little bit. Good, Rick, and just perfect timing. Shane Bieber against Miley. It's going to be an interesting game. It's amazing to think that at 36-38, the Guardians are only one game behind the Twins. That, to me, is nothing short of amazing. And the Guardians are actually starting to play slightly better baseball. I was really interested. The rookie pitcher, Grant Williams, is that his name? What's his name? Rick? The guy that they brought up for the minor leagues who allegedly had the 100-mile-an-hour fastball that was topping out at 98 in his first game. He gave up 4 runs in the third inning, but he was, besides that, he was good. He had one bad inning. I'm not placing the guy's name, and I feel bad, but we'll know who he is. Looks like he has a nice breaking ball to go along with the fastball. He was, I don't think it was Paul Williams, Amsterdam. He'd be a little short to be out there. But as you're looking for guys who are fast movers through the minor league system, and he was a fast mover and had a 2-point-something ERA at all stops. Big strikeout ratio. He had 4 5 2/3 innings in his first outing. So that was nice to see. He didn't have what I would call, because he had pitched 60 some odd innings with only 24 walks this year in his rise up. And he didn't have command. He was close. He wasn't all over the place, but he was falling behind too much. And his pitch count was too high. Can't have that. But right now, the Guardians are finding ways of getting it done, which is like a Francona team. And honestly, the Twins should be further ahead, but they're not. And the fact that the Tigers are only 4.5 behind and the White Sox are only 6 behind with incredibly bad records, that's scary. The Oakland Athletics, by the way, who I was joking about earlier, 19-58. They're 28.5 games out of first place already. Gavin Williams, that's the one. Thank you. Virtual coffee mug for I. Thank you. I knew it was G. Williams, but Gavin, yeah. The only other Gavin I knew was Gavin McLeod on the Love Boat. Captain Merrill Stubik, forget it. Can you imagine being 28.5 games out at this point? And, their futility is when have a 10-29 record away and a 9-29 record at home. Is that incredible? That's just bad. And they're playing in the West where there are some good baseball teams: the Rangers, the Astros, the Angels, even the Mariners are at about 500. And you look at every team, the Rangers have a plus 153 differential. The Astros are a plus 42, the Angels a plus 21, the Mariners a plus 15, and the Athletics minus 210. That's really incredible. For information, the only team in the Central who has a plus differential is the Twins at plus 29. The Guardians are minus 15. It's something. And the real sad thing is the Kansas City Royals at 21-54 with their negative 117 differential are 16 and a half games behind where the first place team is 500. That's crazy. At the rate the season is going, the Athletics have played 77 games, to put this in perspective. So they could very easily, they're at a pace to lose 120 games. And that is really saying something. I'm not exactly sure what it's saying, but what I'm watching is, we're doing this. I mean, Jimenez is not hitting like he did in his in his first year with the team. I saw that Brennan made a great catch, but fell on his arm. I don't know if Rick May's still out there. Rick, any word on Brennan? I know that they sat him, and the implication by Francona was that, well, we're going to let him rest and see. I hope there's no IR in the future for this young man, because he's been hitting like a 330 pace, get his average up to over 270, and he's done all that was asked of him. He's a good ball player. Watching Miles Straw actually hit one off the wall, I almost soiled myself. That's how bad the A's are. A curveball elevated Miles Straw's bat speed, and he hit it off the wall. I can't imagine. He's looking like more and more like Dwayne Kuiper, like a guy who's never going to hit a home run with he got one. Kuiper got one. I think they said it was since 2021 since Straw's hit a home run. But he's a good center fielder, right? We need offense. I even saw that Oscar Gonzalez was called back up. It's like, nah. We're searching. And the injuries will start adding up as well. Not real good. We'll see what happens tonight. And the Brewers are a lot like we are. They're about a 500 team. It's going to be interesting to see if we can keep our momentum going as far as that's concerned. I'm going to finish up here and be grateful that this damn Elgato Wave XLR managed to last for the remainder of the show. I can't believe it just blew out like that. My apologies, really. And maybe I'll try to edit me doing the Charlie Chaplin shit, edit that out. I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm really enjoying what time I have to scoot around Northeast Ohio. It's been so busy here trying to get not only the furnishings, but we're having mechanical difficulties in the house, a leaking refrigerator, a leaking sink faucet, and circuit breakers because of that are tripping. I'm tripping. Rox is tripping. And we have a lot of help coming in to help us out. And people of Ohio has been very, very nice. And, what I can say is it's nice living in an area where people are, a little bit more friendly. Yeah, that's what I read too. But he said, if we have to put him on the IR, we will. But I don't think it's going to come to that. You know something, Daktar? You do Benny Hill. You know, as stiff as his body is, maybe his dick, dot, dot, dot. So you can do Benny. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Daktar. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We're going to try it again on Monday, and I'm just going to use my damn Focusrite because this mic is so good. I don't need a toy like a Wave XLR. I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. I'm going to earn it. Thanks for tuning in, and until Monday, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.